So write down today's topic, spontaneity. Spontaneity. Hetu aru eta birat important topic, spontaneity. So what exactly is spontaneity? Acha dhara there is a building, high storied building, and you are at the top of this building and you are throwing a bucket of water. Water nije nije jabo na nai? Water nije nije তললে নামি আহিব না নাই?
Yes, sir.
তো তুমি নেপেলালেও water to নিজে নিজে তললে যাবলে চেষ্টা কৰিব. But suppose if a person is holding a bucket of water at the ground floor, will the water automatically get onto the top floor? নিজে নিজে আহিব নেকি ওপৰত?
No, sir.
No. তার মানে যে কেটা রিঅ্যাকশন বা যে কেটা প্রসেস নিজে নিজে হয়ে আছে without the external help, so those type of processes are referred to as spontaneous processes. So spontaneous process or natural processes are those which get completed without the external help. বাহিৰৰ পৰা হেল্প নহলেও নিজে নিজে গৈ থাকে. এতিয়া ধৰা heat is flowing from hot body to cold body. It's a natural process. Heat eta hot body পৰা cold body লৈ নিজে নিজে travel কৰিব. কিন্তু cold body পৰা hot body লৈ heat নিজে নিজে travel নকৰে. তো সেই কাৰণে আমি ক'ব পাৰো a spontaneous process is an irreversible process. Irreversible hobo lagi. It should be a single step process and can only be reversed by an external agent. By an external agent. As for example, rolling ball. Ball eta nije nije roll koribo. Heat flow. Gas flow. Okay, so hiyotok tumar flow korar karone you need not help them. So these are called the spontaneous process. আচ্ছা আৰু এটা ধৰণৰ প্ৰসেছক আমি স্পন্টানিয়াস প্ৰসেছ বুলি ক'ব পাৰো. সাপোজ মই ৰিঅ্যাকশনটো জাস্ট আৰম্ভণি কৰিছো, তাৰ পিছত যদি ৰিঅ্যাকশনটো নিজে নিজে গৈ থাকে তেতিয়া হলেও তাক স্পন্টানিয়াস বুলি কম. তাৰ মানে either the reaction proceeds on its own or after proper initiation, then also if it proceeds on its own, so in both cases they are referred to as spontaneous processes. So you can further continue. There are also some processes which require some initiation, before they proceed spontaneously. They are also considered as spontaneous process. As for example, lighting of candle. লাইটিং অফ ক্যান্ডেল আমি স্পন্টানিয়াস প্রসেস বলি কব পাৰো কিন্তু জুইখিনিটো লগাই দিব লাগিব ইউ উইল হ্যাভ টু লেট ইট and once you lit it then it continuously burns until unless the whole of the wax gets melted তো সেইকাৰণে আমি কব পাৰো যে spontaneous process দুই ভাগত আমি ভগাই লব পাৰো reactions which do not require any initiation they proceed on their own processes which proceed on their own are spontaneous process but there are some processes which require proper initiation and thereafter তাৰ পিছত যদি ৰিয়াকশনটো নিজে নিজে গৈ থাকে তেতিয়া হলে ইহঁতক আমি স্পন্টানিয়াস প্ৰসেস বুলি কওঁ বুজি পাইছানে
Yes, sir.
ওকে তো এতিয়া প্ৰশ্নটো হল that reaction spontaneous কিয় হয় আৰু সব reaction spontaneous কিয় নহয় why some reactions are spontaneous whereas some reactions are non spontaneous এতিয়া ধৰা মই তোমাক এটা প্ৰশ্ন বা এটা সিম্পল এক্সাম্পল দিম there are some students in my class who regularly study in spite of the fact that whether exams are coming nearby or not and there are some students who study only after the date sheet for the examination is given so in both these cases we will call them spontaneous তার মানে নিজে নিজে পড়াশোনা করে বা এটা ইনিশিয়েশন লাগে আৰু ইনিশিয়েশনটো হল তোমাৰ পৰীক্ষাৰ ডেট শিট কিন্তু যেকেটা স্টুডেন্ট ইভেন আফটার গেটিং দ্য ডেট শিট they are not affected by this phenomenon and they are always to be pushed then only they study so they are called non spontaneous তো যেকেটা রিয়াকশন নিজে নিজে নহয় সদায় হিহঁতক পুশ কৰিব লাগে and external agent to যদি গুছাই দিয়া রিয়াকশন টু স্টপ যদি হৈ যায় এতিয়া পানী যদি একদম তলৰ পৰা ওপৰত লৈ যাব লাগে so you need some electric pump so as long as the electric pump is running the water will be going from the bottom to top কিন্তু যেই মুহূৰ্তত তোমাৰ ইলেক্ট্ৰিসিটি বন্ধ হৈ যাব then the flow of water from bottom to top will automatically cease or automatically it will stop কিন্তু ওপৰৰ পৰা যে পানী তলত পৰি আছে তাৰ কাৰণে এক্সটাৰ্নাল হেল্পৰ কোনো দৰকাৰ নাই তুমি এক্সটাৰ্নাল হেল্প দিলেও বা নিদিলেও পানী নিজে নিজে ওপৰৰ পৰা তললৈ নামি আহিব যেতিয়ালৈকে গোটেইখিনি পানী শেষ হৈ নাযায় so that is why we say that spontaneous processes are natural processes which are irreversible in nature and যদি তুমি spontaneous processক ৰখাব বিচৰা stop কৰিব বিচৰা তেতিয়া হলে এটা external agentৰ দৰকাৰ নিজে নিজে বন্ধ হৈ নাযায় কিন্তু non spontaneous process is just the opposite there they will not be going on their own until unless তুমি বাহিৰৰ পৰা push কৰা বাহিৰৰ পৰা help দিয়া তেতিয়ালৈকে ৰিয়াকশনটো নিজে নিজে নাযায় আৰু the moment you stop the external help the flow or the process will stop immediately so those processes are referred to as non spontaneous processes বুজি পালা
Yes, sir.
okay তো আজিৰ ক্লাসটো আমি প্ৰথম ডিসকাশন কৰিলো যে reaction spontaneous কিয় হয় what is the criteria to determine whether a reaction is spontaneous or not now which reactions are spontaneous and which reactions are non spontaneous let us try to understand so at first the criteria that was thought which is responsible for spontaneity of a reaction is decrease in enthalpy decrease in enthalpy মানে delta H is equal to negative as a criterion for spontaneity decrease in enthalpy মানে প্ৰথম এটো ভাবা গৈছিলে যে যেকেটা ৰিয়াকশনত enthalpy decrease হয় energy কমি আহে reactions which are exothermic were thought to be spontaneous Logic to key. Logic to whole that sobe stability bisare. All of us, whether it be human being, whether it be chemical species, everyone wants stability. So stability logot energy ki সম্পর্ক? Stability aru energy, they are inversely proportional to each other. Okay, eta system of energy jiman beshi thakibo, the system will be less stable. Aru energy jiman beshi thakibo, it will be energy jiman kom thakibo, system will be more stable. Energy jiman beshi thakibo, unstable. So nobody wants to be unstable. Eta dhara Russia has attacked Ukraine. You must be knowing this fact. So there is huge lot of instability all over the world. But that instability cannot continue for a longer period of time, because ultimately a time will come when any one of them has to surrender, because everyone is more interested in peace. Okay, আমি সদায় অশান্তি লৈ থাকিব নোৱাৰো, এটা পইণ্ট অফ টাইম আমাৰ সবৰে শান্তি লাগে, and that is why আমি ক'ব পাৰো যে এনাৰ্জি কমি গলে সিস্টেমটো ষ্টেবল হয়. Now if we say that delta H negative mane ki energy komi goi ase, energy is decreasing, so obviously it was thought that jiman keta reaction of energy komi jay ba jiman keta reaction of enthalpy change negative hobo, ei keta reaction of ami spontaneous boli kobo paru, because the natural tendency of every process is to achieve greater stability by lowering down the energy. Kyo pani upopa tolole nije nije nami ahe? কারণ পানী যেতিয়া ওপৰলে আছিল তাৰ পটেনশিয়াল এনাৰ্জি বেছি আছিলে, কিন্তু তললে নামি আহিছে মানে তাৰ পটেনশিয়াল এনাৰ্জিটো কমি গৈ আছে, so it is leading towards lesser energy. Why heat is flowing from hotter body to colder body? কারণ hot body energy বেছি আছিল, colder body কম আছে, so thus it was thought that all those processes which lead to decrease in energy, all those processes which lead to exothermic process are said to be spontaneous. This was the previous thought. Buji palane?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you can write down all these spontaneous processes have a tendency to acquire the state of minimum energy. All these spontaneous processes have a tendency to acquire the state of minimum energy. Further, in case of exothermic reactions, the energy of the system decreases. Thus, these reactions are considered as spontaneous processes. Thus, these reactions are considered as spontaneous processes. Suppose we have half N2 gas plus 3/2 H2 gas gives NH3 gas. So delta H is minus 46.1 kilojoules per mole. By half H2 gas plus half Cl2 gas gives HCl gas. Delta H degree didia standard enthalpy minus 92.32 kilojoules per mole. So both these processes are found to be spontaneous in nature. And why they are said to be spontaneous? Because both of them are found to be exothermic. Gotike, previously it was found that all those reactions which try to attain minimum energy, that is actually spontaneous process. Karon khodaye sobe stability bisare, and when you are leading to greater stability, tarmane you are leading to lesser energy. Greater stability mane lesser energy. Ekhini likhilu agote, then we will proceed further.
Sir, hold.
Hoise? Thus, it can be concluded that the tendency to attain the minimum energy is responsible for spontaneity of a reaction. কিন্তু ইয়াত এটা কথা আছে, যদি this is the criteria, only criteria, তেতিয়া হলে সব exothermic reactions spontaneous হব লাগে. It has been found out that yes, most of the exothermic reactions are spontaneous, but not all. There are exothermic reactions which are found to be non-spontaneous as well. And there are some endothermic reactions also which are found to be spontaneous. So jodi delta H equal to negative should have been only criteria, তেতিয়া হলে there should be no endothermic spontaneous processes and all spontaneous processes should be exothermic. Kintu exceptions are found where we see that reaction কেইটামান exothermic হোৱাৰ পিছতো they are found to be non-spontaneous, আৰু কেইটামান endothermic হোৱাৰ পিছতো they are found to be spontaneous. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
তার মানে delta H negative হলেই যে spontaneous হব তেনেকুৱা কোনো কথা নাই, because exceptions are there in this particular definition. Limitations of delta H negative to be sole criterion for spontaneity. Okay, sole criterion মানে একমাত্র ক্রাইটেরিয়া delta H হব নোৱাৰে কারণ যদি তেনেকুৱা হলহেঁতেন then all exothermic reactions would have been spontaneous. No endothermic reactions would have been spontaneous. But it has been found out that there are some endothermic reactions also found to be spontaneous, and there are some exothermic reactions also which are found to be non-spontaneous. The above criteria fails to explain the following. Point number 1. In case of endothermic reactions, that is delta H equal to positive, energy of the system increases. But there are several endothermic reactions that are spontaneous. As for example, half N2 gas plus O2 gas gives NO2 gas. Delta H degree is found to be plus 33.2 kilojoules. So reaction to endothermic হয়, তার মানে there is an increase in the energy of the system. তো আমি যদি delta H negative একমাত্র ক্রাইটেরিয়া লৈ চলিলো হয়, তেতিয়া হলে this reaction should be non-spontaneous, but it has been found to be spontaneous. Several reactions are found to be spontaneous even if delta H is 0. So delta H যদি আমি 0 বলি কওঁ, so such reactions are neither endothermic nor exothermic. তো তেনেকুৱাও reaction আছে য'ত delta H 0 হয়, energy change নহয়, but still they are found to be spontaneous, like acetic acid plus ethanol gives ester plus water. So delta H for this reaction is 0, but still it is found to be spontaneous. So নিয়ম মতে to অকল delta H negative হলেহে spontaneous হ'ব লাগে. Point number 3. Even those reactions with delta H equal to negative, rarely proceed to completion. তো যদি স্পন্টেনিয়াস হয় কমপ্লিট হ'ব লাগে ৰিয়াকচনটো, কিন্তু কেইটামান ৰিয়াকচন তেনেকুৱা আছে the delta H is negative all throughout, কিন্তু তথাপিও such reactions never lead to completion, even though delta H is negative all through. তো এই কেইটামান পইণ্টৰ কাৰণে আমি ক'ব পাৰো যে নহয় ডেল্টা H চাই আমি কেতিয়াও ক'ব নোৱাৰিম whether a reaction is spontaneous or not. হয়, delta H negative হলে there is high possibility of the reaction to be spontaneous, but still you cannot say with guarantee that a reaction to spontaneous হবই। বুঝি পাইছানে?
Yes, sir.
Okay. লিখি লোৱাৰ পিছত কবা, so I'll proceed further. Is it completed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So then it was thought that যদি delta H criteria নহয় তেতিয়া কি criteria হ'ব লাগে? So then it was found out that according to second law of thermodynamics, that energy according to first law of thermodynamics is constant, but entropy is always increasing. হেতু আমি second law of thermodynamics মতে আমি ক'ব পাৰো। So after this, write down the next topic as second law of thermodynamics. Second law of thermodynamics. So there are various statements of the second law of thermodynamics, one of which says that entropy of the universe is always increasing. For an irreversible process, if you have gone through the last class video, I have told you that entropy change of an irreversible process is always greater than zero, and greater than zero means positive. Mane entropy of the universe is always increasing. So let me write the first statement of second law of thermodynamics. Whenever a spontaneous process takes place, whenever a spontaneous process takes place, it is always accompanied with increase in the total entropy of the system. Okay, it is always accompanied with increase in total entropy of the system. Hence, entropy of the universe is always increasing. Entropy of the universe is always increasing. This is one of the statements of second law. There is another statement which says no machine can be constructed which is 100% efficient. This is another statement. মানে তুমি কোনো তেনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ machine construct কৰিব নোৱাৰা যাৰ efficiency সদায় 100% হ'ব কিয় কাৰণ যিকোনো machine when it is working you must have seen that it creates some sound, some heat is produced. So part of the energy created by the machine is always lost to the environment in the form of heat or light or sound. গতিকে যিমানখিনি আমি আশা কৰো যে machine-ৰ efficiency ইমান হ'ব তাৰ only a fraction of it is actually utilized in doing proper work. Rest is going to go out as wastage. So 100% efficient machine আমি কেতিয়াও বনাব নোৱাৰো এতিয়ালৈকে সম্ভৱ নহয় that the machine that is created is 100% efficient. কিয় because a part of the energy is always lost to the environment in the form of heat, light, sound or other forms of energy. So these are the two different statements of second law of thermodynamics. বুঝি পাইছা না?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Are both the statements clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
তো এতিয়া প্ৰথম statement মতে আমি যদি কওঁ যে প্রত্যেক spontaneous processor entropy increase হৈ আছে so can we say then that delta s equal to positive can be considered as the criteria to be spontaneous?
Yes, sir.
তো আমি ভাবিব পাৰো যে all reactions in which delta s equal to positive মানে যেকেটা ৰিয়াকচনৰ এন্ট্ৰপি বাঢ়ি আছে গোটেইকেটা ৰিয়াকচনে স্পন্টেনিয়াস হ'ব লাগে কিন্তু তেনেকুৱা যদি হয় let us say it is applicable কিন্তু তেনেকুৱা যদি হয় তেতিয়াহলে পৃথিৱীখনত বা ইউনিভাৰ্সত কোনো সলিড বা লিকুইড থাকিব নালাগিছিলে নহয় জানো
Yes.
but it's a matter of obviously we know that in this universe you have solids also existing, liquids also existing and gaseous substances also existing and it is not that slowly all solids and liquids are getting converted to gas তেনেকুৱা তো নহয় gas is also getting converted to liquid তার মানে again delta s also cannot be considered as the criteria for spontaneity. Why? Because there are some reactions or processes in which entropy decreases but still the reactions are found to be spontaneous. There are some reactions where delta s is found to be positive but again they are found to be non-spontaneous. তার মানে neither delta s nor delta h can be individually considered to determine the spontaneity of a reaction. Understood?
Yes, sir.
তো delta h যদি নেগেটিভ হয় প্রথমে ভাবা গৈছিল যে রিঅ্যাকশন স্পন্টেনিয়াস হবই হব কিন্তু আকৌ ইয়াত এক্সেপশন পোৱা গৈছে আকৌ ডেল্টা s যদি পজিটিভ হয় তেতিয়াহলে it was thought that এতিয়াতো আৰু কোনো কথাই নাই যদি ডেল্টা s এটা পার্টিকুলার প্রসেসর পজিটিভ হৈ আছে এন্ট্রপি ইনক্রিজ হৈ আছে তেতিয়াহলে এটো স্পন্টেনিয়াস হবই হব, কিন্তু ইয়াতেও এক্সেপশন পোৱা গৈছে। গতিকে neither delta H nor delta S taken individually can be used as the criteria for spontaneity. Both of them play a very important role because most of the reactions which are spontaneous are exothermic. Most of the processes which are spontaneous lead with increase of entropy. But when I use the term most, that does not mean all, and that is why the exceptions do arise. So in order to get the actual scenario, in order to get the actual prediction that whether a reaction is spontaneous or not, we need to take the help of both of them together. Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So both of them are equally important because individually, by taking delta H as an individual entity, delta S as individual entity, both of them are not 100% successful. But they are most successful when this is negative and this is positive. But unsuccessful results are also coming when they are reversed, because there also spontaneity has been found out. And then it was thought that why don't we combine these two terms, and after combining, whatever resultant we are getting, that will help us to actually find out that whether the reaction will be spontaneous or not. And the combination of these two is called the fourth thermodynamic property, right? Gibbs free energy. Denoted as capital G, and spontaneity. Gibbs free energy and spontaneity. তো আগতে আমি বুঝি লওঁ that Gibbs free energy actually হয় কি। চোৱা, এটা সিস্টেমত আমি অলৰেডি ডিসকাস কৰিছো সেকেন্ড ল অফ থাৰ্মোডাইনামিক্স মতে that সিস্টেমত দুই ধৰণৰ এনাৰ্জি আছে। এটা আমি কম ইউজফুল এনাৰ্জি, that is utilized in doing the work, and the other is called non-useful, which is lost to the environment as wastage. So second law of thermodynamics কি কয়? Second law of thermodynamics কয় যিকোনো আমি মেশিন যেতিয়া প্রিপেয়ার করি, এটা ফ্র্যাকশন in the form of heat, light or sound সদায় লস হব এনভায়রনমেন্টত, and that is called non-useful work. But that part of the total energy which is converted to work, which gives us the measure of efficiency of the machine, is called useful work, and this measure is given in terms of Gibbs free energy. বুঝি পাইছা নে? Is it clear or there is some confusion? Tell me.
Clear, sir.
Clear হৈছে? Priyanoj, Bhumika, is it
Yes, sir.
understood? Okay.
Yes.
So every system, every machine is associated with two types of energy. Just like we people, God has given all of us a huge lot of talent, but the only problem is some people are successful, some are not. Why? Because those who can recognize their talent properly utilize their talent, but those who do not understand that they are talented, they ultimately waste their talent. So that part of the system, or that part of the energy of the system which is utilized in actually performing work, is called Gibbs free energy, and the rest will be lost to the environment as wastage, that is non-utilized work. তো এটা পার্টিকুলার মেশিনৰ এফিচিয়েন্সি কাৰ ওপৰত ডিপেন্ড কৰে? নন ইউজফুলৰ ওপৰত নে ইউজফুলৰ ওপৰত?
Useful work.
Useful.
ইউজফুলৰ ওপৰত। তো যিমান বেছি এটা মেচিনৰ এফিচিয়েন্সি হ'ব তাৰ মানে Gibbs free energy তাত বেছিকৈ আছে that is the definition of Gibbs free energy definition to লিখি লোৱা the maximum amount of energy available in a system during a process that can be converted to useful work is called Gibbs free energy or simply free energy. It is denoted by G. Mathematically, it is expressed as G is equal to H minus Ts. So Gibbs free energy is equal to enthalpy minus product of temperature and entropy. See, entropy is not energy. Entropy is measure of disorderness. So we have learned in the last class that entropy change is equal to Q by T. So if you multiply T with entropy, will it not be equal to heat or energy?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Okay. So dimensionally, physics to porisa, eta chemical equation of sobore unit eke hobo lagibo. Etu eta energy, free energy. Enthalpy is also nothing but energy, but entropy is not energy. So entropic jodi energy convert koribo lage, it must be multiplied with temperature, then only it will be converted to energy. But like other thermodynamic properties that we have been getting, internal energy U, enthalpy H, entropy S, it's not possible to calculate their absolute values. Karuru ami exact value ulabo nwari. What can be calculated is their change. Gotike amar yateu change to calculate koribo lagibo. And how can we calculate the change? By putting delta on both sides. Gibbs energy, like other thermodynamic functions, what other thermodynamic functions we have done so far? Internal energy, enthalpy and entropy is also a state function. Thermodynamic depends only upon initial and final states, as well as an extensive property. It depends upon the amount. Absolute value of G cannot be calculated. However, delta G can be calculated. So if you cannot calculate G, then this equation is of no use. We have to put delta on both sides. So therefore, we can write delta G equal to delta H minus delta T into S, which is equal to delta H minus T delta S minus S delta T. Because when you put the operator delta one after another, you have to put delta over both of them. At constant temperature, delta T is 0. So we can put delta T equal to 0. So hence we can say delta G is equal to delta H minus T delta S. This is meant only at constant temperature. তো আমি টেম্পারেচার টু চেঞ্জ নকৰো কেমিক্যাল ৰিয়াকচনত এটা মেচিনত আমি টেম্পারেচার টু ফিক্স কৰি থৈ দিও, and that is why the above equation can be reduced to this. এই এক্সপ্রেশন যে আমি পালো delta G equal to delta H minus T delta S, এইটো কোৱা হয় Gibbs-Helmholtz equation, a very very important equation. The above equation is called Gibbs-Helmholtz equation. So what are the components that are used here? It is called Gibbs free energy change, entropy change, enthalpy change, absolute temperature. Absolute temperature মানে temperature expressed in Kelvin. So you notice one thing, that the delta G is making use of both of them, which individually were unsuccessful in defining the spontaneity of a reaction. But if both are considered, then we can make out that the resulting answer, whatsoever comes out, will give you whether a given reaction is spontaneous or not without any failure. So এইখিনি আগতে লিখি লোৱা.
Done, sir.
Done? All of you have done? Can I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Oh.
Yes.
So let us see that whether delta G can be considered as the sole criteria for predicting the spontaneity of a reaction or not. Though delta G is a single entity, but within the delta G, you have a combination of two things, both delta H and delta S. So write down delta G as criterion for spontaneity. So whether we can take delta G as the only criteria for spontaneity or not. So let us see how. We know that total entropy change is equal to entropy change of system plus entropy change of surroundings. The total entropy change is the sum of entropy change of system and entropy change of surrounding. At the state of thermal equilibrium, thermal equilibrium means what? No heat is released or absorbed. Okay, so the outside heat and inside heat are same. Increase in enthalpy of the surroundings equals decrease in the enthalpy of system. This is what is thermal equilibrium. So jimankhini enthalpy increase hoise surroundings or imankhini decrease hobo system or karon system of suppose heat release korise, so whatever be the decrease in the enthalpy of the system, same will be the increase in the enthalpy of the surroundings. So delta S surrounding is equal to delta H surrounding by T hoy. Because last class we have discussed that delta S can be written as the ratio of heat change by heat given to a system or surroundings at temperature T. So this will be equal to minus delta H system by T. So surroundings of jiman delta H gain korise, system e iman delta H lose korise. Gotike ami kobo paru, so therefore delta S total equals delta H surroundings by T into the whole delta S of surrounding plus delta S of system. Or we can write this one is equal to minus delta H of system by T plus delta S of system. See, up to this much, is it clear or not? Must understand.
Sir, তো আপুনি reversible processor কাৰণে লৈছে নে irreversible processor কাৰণে লৈছে নে bothৰ কাৰণে লৈছে sir বস্তু?
It is for everyone as a whole.
Okay sir.
তো সাধাৰণতে ইয়াত যেহেতু মই মেনশন কৰা নাই reversible নে irreversible, and we are talking about spontaneity. তো spontaneous reaction সাধাৰণতে কোন ধৰণৰ ৰিএকচনৰ কাৰণে ধৰা হয়, reversible নে irreversible? those
Reversible?
which lead to completion irreversible, তো irreversible এ হবো, reversible না লাগে, ঠিক আছে? Clear or not? When we talk about spontaneous reaction, we generally do not talk about reversible reaction, we talk about irreversible. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Are the steps clear? Just see. Surrounding এ যিমানখিনি হিট গেইন কৰিছে, সিস্টেমে ইমানখিনি হিট ৰিলিজ কৰিছে, কাৰণ সিস্টেমৰ পৰা সাৰাউণ্ডিংছত গৈছে, সেইকাৰণে সিস্টেমৰ কাৰণে নেগেটিভ আৰু সাৰাউণ্ডিংছৰ কাৰণে পজিটিভ দিছো। ক্লিয়াৰ?
Yes,
So
sir.
delta S total is equal to delta S surrounding plus delta S system. So delta S surrounding or ঠাইত A2 আৰু A2 ঠাইত A2 বহাই দিছো। So গোটেই কেইটা আমি সিস্টেমৰ টাৰ্মছত পালো, নহয়? Now when we rearrange this reaction, what we can write? T delta S total equals minus delta H system plus T delta S system. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So T will be LCM. So this will be multiplied with T. This is also multiplied with T. Or we can say multiplying all through with T, we get this particular equation. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. For spontaneous process, in general, we know delta S total is greater than 0. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This is what is second law of thermodynamics, according to which the entropy of the universe is increasing. Mane delta S total is greater than 0. So therefore, minus delta H system plus T delta S is greater than 0, because this is greater than 0 means what? S total, delta S total greater than 0 means T into delta S total greater than 0, because T is a positive value. So can we write this is greater than 0?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can we write this as delta G system greater than 0?
Yes, sir.
Or if you have confusion, let me write one more step. Delta H2 প্রথম লিখি দিও। Can we write this? See, if you have got any confusion, please tell me. Or can we write delta G system is less than 0
Yes, sir.
or negative? ठीक है?
Yes, sir.
So ultimately we can say that hence for a spontaneous process, change in Gibbs free energy is negative. তো যিকোনো রিঅ্যাকশনৰ স্পন্টানিটি ওলাবলে আমি তার ডেল্টা জি2 ক্যালকুলেট করি। যদি ডেল্টা জি নেগেটিভ আহে তেতিয়া হলে আমি রিঅ্যাকশনক স্পন্টানিয়াস বুলি কম, আর যদি ডেল্টা জি পজিটিভ আহে রিঅ্যাকশন টু নন স্পন্টানিয়াস বুলি কম, আর ডেল্টা জি যদি 0 আহে then we will call the reaction to be at equilibrium. क्यों डेल्टा जी नेगेटिव हुआ माने रिएक्शन टू स्पॉन्टेनियस? एरिया स्वा all of you have written the steps or not, because the explanation is important.
Yes, sir.
শুনিবা ভালকে। What is the meaning of delta G negative? The meaning of delta G negative means system তাত যিখিনি useful work আসিলে হেতু খরচ হল। তো obviously যদি system তাত G2 খরচ হইছে, if it is used up, will not its value decrease? Yes or no? If a system,
Sir, can you explaining?
I'm explaining it again. A system has energy stored in the form of Gibbs free energy, which is meant for doing useful work, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I say that it is a spontaneous process. Means, is it taking help from outside or is it going on its own?
On its
Going
own.
on its own.
It is going on its own. Now, if it is going on its own, will not its useful work be utilized during the process?
Yes, sir.
And if it is utilized during the process, then will not be change be negative?
Yes, sir.
তার মানে তুমি যদি লাইফত কষ্ট কৰিছা, তোমার এনার্জি খরচ হব। You are not dependent on anybody. You are spontaneous personality. তো obviously তোমার তো কষ্ট হবই, and কষ্ট হওয়ার টাইমত তোমার বডির যিখিনি এনার্জি আছে হেতুটো কমিবই। But suppose you are dependent on anybody else, so you need not spend your own energy. You are taking energy from outside. So will your useful work be increasing or decreasing in that case when you are taking help from outside? তুমি যদি নিজে কাম কৰা নাই, তুমি বেলেগৰ ওপৰত ডিপেন্ডেন্ট হৈ আছা, তোমাৰ গিভস ফ্ৰী এনার্জি খৰচ হব নে আৰু বাঢ়িব?
Sir, বাঢ়িব।
বাঢ়িব। So will not delta G be positive for non-spontaneous process?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
নিজে নিজে কাম কৰিলেহে তাৰ গিভস ফ্ৰী এনার্জিটো খৰচ হৈ আছে, আৰু খৰচ হলেহে তাৰ ভ্যালুটো কমিব, নহয় জানো? বুজি পালা?
Yes, sir.
তো সেইকাৰণে আমি কব পাৰো যে এটা পার্টিকুলার রিঅ্যাকশন স্পন্টেনিয়াস হয় না নাই হেতু চাবলে আমি তাৰ ডেল্টা জি টো চাব লাগিব, আৰু ডেল্টা জি যদি নেগেটিভ হয় তেতিয়া হলে ইট উইল বি স্পন্টেনিয়াস, আৰু ডেল্টা জি যদি পজিটিভ হয় তেতিয়া হলে নন স্পন্টেনিয়াস। ইট ইজ ডিপেন্ডেন্ট অন এক্সটার্নাল ফ্যাক্টর, আৰু নাইদার পজিটিভ নর নেগেটিভ, মানে জিরো যদি হয় দ্য রিঅ্যাকশন ইজ এট ইকুইলিব্রিয়াম। Thus, we can say the ultimate result for criteria of spontaneity is number 1, if delta G is negative, the process is spontaneous. If delta G is positive, The process is non-spontaneous. If delta G is equal to 0, the process is
at equilibrium.
The process is at equilibrium. বুজি পাইছা নে?
Yes,
sir.
sir.
ক্লিয়াৰ হৈছে সবৰে?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
তাৰ মানে আমি ক'ব পাৰো যে এতিয়া we can come to a conclusion that এটা particular reaction spontaneous হ'ব না নাই হেতু চাব লাগিলে আমাৰ delta G টো চালে হল যদি delta G negative হৈছে তাৰ মানে the reaction is utilizing its useful work on its own without depending on others. It is like saying that those people who are honest and they do not depend upon the bribery or corruption, so they generally are what? They generally have lesser money with them. Why? Because they spend their hard earned money, isn't it? ইহঁতৰ পইচাটো কম হ'ব পাৰে, but they are not dependent on others. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Just a ठीक है? Can I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now the interesting thing is, who are the components responsible in determining the delta H? Delta G, sorry. Delta G is equal to delta H minus T delta S final 9.
Yes.
আচ্ছা, spontaneous হব হলে net resultant to আমার কি লাগিব?
Negative.
Negative হব লাগিব। ঠিক আছে? এটো শুনিবা ভালকে। আমি তিনটা কলম বনাই দিলো, delta H, delta S আৰু T। এটা কাম কৰো, দুইটাই পজিটিভ কৰি দিওঁ, দুইটাই নেগেটিভ কৰি দিওঁ, এটা পজিটিভ এটা নেগেটিভ কৰি দিওঁ, এটা নেগেটিভ এটা পজিটিভ কৰি দিওঁ। এই চাৰিটাহে পসিবিলিটি আছে নহয়?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
If both are positive, if both are negative, if one is positive, other is negative, and when one is positive, the other one is negative, other is positive. এতিয়া আমি we will be putting these signs in this equation. এতিয়া কোৱা, delta H যদি পজিটিভ হয়, delta S ও যদি পজিটিভ হয়, net resultant to negative আনিবলে will not the second value should be greater than the first? স্বাভাবিক
Yes, sir.
delta H positive, delta S is also positive, but net resultant যদি negative হব লাগে তেতিয়া হলে this should be greater than this or not?
Yes, sir.
So second factor to first factor কে বেশি কেতিয়া হব when the temperature is high? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So can we write spontaneous at high temperature? বুঝি পেলা?
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
আচ্ছা out of the two আজি একদম আৰম্ভণিৰ পৰা যিখিনি আমি ডিসকাস কৰিছো who is for spontaneity? delta H positive হলে spontaneous or আশা কম আছিল নহয় জানো?
Yes, sir.
delta S positive আশা বেশি আসলে তার মানে this is favorable condition, this is unfavorable condition. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
sir.
একদম আৰম্ভণিত আমি কি ডিসকাস কৰিছিলো কোন কেটা ৰিঅ্যাকশন সাধাৰণতে স্পন্টেনিয়াস হয় ইন টার্মস অফ delta H নেগেটিভ হলে স্পন্টেনিয়াস হয় না না?
Yes, sir.
কিন্তু ইয়াত delta H is positive, so is it favorable or unfavorable?
Unfavorable.
And this is favorable or unfavorable?
Favorable.
Favorable. So ultimately net resultant to favorable hobo ne unfavorable hobo etu depend koribo etu kiman yatke beshi. So for that temperature will be the deciding factor or not?
Yes, sir.
So temperature jiman beshi tak support koribo, the greater it supports the delta H, so it will be greater than that of delta H. Yes, বুঝি পাইছা?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now tell me in the second case who is favorable and who is unfavorable?
Delta H is favorable.
delta S is favorable and delta S is not favorable. গটিকে আমি এইটো ইয়াতকে বেশি হ'ব লাগিব নহয় জানো?
Yes, sir.
তার মানে টেম্পারেচার ভ্যালুটো কমাই দিব লাগিব তেতিয়া হলে this one will be lesser than this. Clear? So what should I write? Spontaneous at low temperature hobo na? Okay. Come to the third one. Who is favorable, who is unfavorable?
So both are unfavorable.
Both are unfavorable. তো যদি দুইটাই unfavorable হয় যদি তুমি delta S negative বহাই দিয়া will it not be a positive value?
Yes.
And this is also positive, so is it possible for delta G to get positive negative value anytime?
No, sir.
No. তো আমি কি লিখিম non spontaneous at all temperature. দুইটাই যদি unfavorable হই যায় টেম্পারেচার আর কোনো রোল নাই বুঝি পাইছা?
Yes, sir.
What will you write for the last one? You help me out.
So spontaneous at all times.
Now both are favorable, so if both are favorable the value of delta G will always be negative. Yes, so এখানে বুঝি পাইছা না নাই? Is this table clear to you?
Yes, sir.
So this is very very important table. তার মানে আমার মেইন বস্তু চাব লাগিব যে আৰম্ভণিত আমি ডেল্টা H ক্রাইটেরিয়া হিসাবে লৈছিলো and চাইছিলো যে ডেল্টা H নেগেটিভ হলে ম্যাক্সিমাম পসিবিলিটি থাকে স্পন্টানিয়াস হোৱাৰ ৰিঅ্যাকশনত গটিকে আমি কম যে ডেল্টা H নেগেটিভ হলে ইট ইজ ফেভারেবল তার পিছত আমি চালু যে ডেল্টা S পজিটিভ হলে ফেভারেবল তো দুইটাই যদি ফেভারেবল হয় টেম্পারেচার হ্যাজ নো রোল টু প্লে দুইটাই যদি আনফেভারেবল হয় টেম্পারেচার হ্যাজ নো রোল টু প্লে এটা যদি ফেভারেবল হয় অন্য এটা যদি আনফেভারেবল হয় তেতিয়া temperature has important role to play, and hetu kak borhabo lage kak komabo lage hetu mote ami kobo parim whether the reaction will be spontaneous or non spontaneous. Clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I hope this much is clear to everyone.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
এখানে ভালকে মনত রাখিবা. So next day we will be doing numericals on the Gibbs free energy. The main criteria we have discussed today. Today was the most important and conceptual chapter, topic. The next day we will discuss that values of delta H, delta S and T will be given, and you will be simply asked whether the reaction will be spontaneous or not. So mainly you will have to find out delta G, and by getting the value of delta G we can make out if it is negative then only the reaction will be spontaneous, otherwise non-spontaneous. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay. Thank you. See you in the next class. Next class we will be finishing off the thermodynamics. Bye bye. Bye bye. Good night.
Bye-bye, sir.